I'm going to show you how you can make pumpkin puree from a pie pumpkin. So the first thing we want to do is roast our pumpkin, and to do that we need to prep it for roasting, which means slicing it up. Now this particular pumpkin is very interesting. It did not come from a regular grocery store. I actually got it at Menards and it was only 49 cents. But it's had a much tougher rind than pie pumpkins at the grocery store. So to get it to be soft enough to cut, the first thing I had to do was actually microwave it. So I microwaved it for about 3 minutes to soften its flesh, and it's not too warm, but I'm able to start making some indentations in it now. So first thing I'm going to do is basically just cut it in half. After I've cut it in half, then I'm going to put it in my roasting pan, and after I scoop the seeds out, and I will be putting a little bit of water in the bottom. Now this one is this is actually the toughest pumpkin I have ever cut, and so it's interesting. If I had not microwaved it, it would be really hard to cut. As it is, I'm making some progress. One note about this is I only microwaved it about 3 minutes, and I stopped and checked it intermittently to see if it was softening enough to get my knife into it. If you do it much longer than that in the microwave, it would get really hot and hard to touch. But since I only did it 3 minutes, it's really okay. So here's my pumpkin. I've cut it open, and you can see it's got a lot of nice, good flesh. So the next thing I'm going to do is scoop out my seeds. Now these are great seeds if you wanted to save them to roast them. I'm not going to do that right now because I've got a lot of pumpkins here that I'm going to be roasting. So I'm just going to scoop my seeds out. I've got a trash can under here. You can do all kinds of things with this. I just have a simple soup spoon, and that's pretty easy. You know, if you just have a basic, stuff in your house as opposed to, you know, having a special pumpkin carver or something. So I found just a soup spoon works great. Then you don't need any special tool. After I've scooped my seeds out, I'm just going to scoop some of this rind out, some of this, not the flesh, but this orange kind of goopy stuff here. And so I'm just going to pull that out. And sometimes I get my hands a little dirty with this, but that's okay. The other thing I do sometimes is I will take a scissor for some of these little orange strands that are getting kind of annoying. I just take a scissor and cut some of that off. Then my hands don't get quite as dirty. And then I'm just going to place this in my roasting pan. And so now I'm going to go through and try to scoop out the rest of my seeds. And after I do that, I'm going to cut a little more. I'm going to cut another piece of my pumpkin and put that into my roaster pan as well. Okay, so I've scooped out my seeds. I'm going to save some of them. I've also noticed that my pumpkin has a little spot here that doesn't look so good. So we don't really want to roast him. That was at the very bottom of it. So we're just going to cut that part off. And now I've got all this part that looks good. So I'm going to put him in my pan. I've also got a little bit, this is down near the bottom of the pumpkin on this part that doesn't look so good. So I'm going to cut that part off as well. We don't want to roast anything that we're not going to actually want to consume, that's not doing so good. And then the rest of it I can just put in my pan. Eventually we're going to take away the seeds and the skin and the stem and scoop that out, but for the sake of roasting it doesn't hurt if that part is in the oven while we're roasting it. So I'm just going to cut off a little more here of this part that looked a little scary. Put that away. I cut one more little bit off here till all the stuff that looked like it was maybe starting to go bad is away. But we are still able to use the rest of this pumpkin. See, this part all looks good. So now I can actually, since I got a small roaster pan, I can just put this whole thing in just like this. It will fit great. I have a little bit of water. I've got about a 1/4 cup of water. So I'm going to put that in the bottom of my pan. If I was doing a larger pumpkin, I might use a little more water, like 1/2 cup for this small pumpkin. This is fine. But I just noticed I have a couple more seeds I'm going to pull out. And there we go. So now I'm just going to put the lid on here, and I'm going to put this in my oven. I'm going to roast this at 400 for 1 hour. And then when we get it out, I'll show you what comes next. So the next step in the process is we're going to check and see if the pumpkin is done. And so all we're going to do is we're going to take a fork and we're going to pierce the flesh and see if it's tender. And it goes in and comes out right away, so that says it is tender and all done. And then this bigger one, we're going to come and just go and sell a few different spots to make sure it got done all the way to the bottom, and it did. Now we're going to do our smaller pan, same thing. And we can definitely tell this one's done because it's coming away from the rind. So this is good. This one's good too. Next thing we're going to do is we're just going to give this about 10 minutes to cool, and then we're going to be scooping out the flesh. So for our next step in making pumpkin puree, we're going to scoop the flesh out of the pumpkin holes here. And I've waited enough so it's cooled down, easy to touch without, it's nice and comfortable room temperature now. So we're just going to take the flesh and we're going to scoop it out, and then we're going to discard the skin behind it. And I'm going to be blending this up. So I'm just going to scoop my flesh directly into the blender. And then I'm just going to discard the skin part. Obviously we're going to discard the stem. That part already just came out, so we're just going to, that was easy to scoop. So we're just going to go along and do this with each of our pumpkin pieces, is scoop out the flesh, and then we'll discard the whole. And then once we've got all that done, we're going to blend it all up. The reason we blend it is that will make it really have a real smooth consistency. So all of that pumpkin has filled our blender. Basically 1 pie pumpkin is roughly 2 cups of pumpkin. It's about the equivalent to a can of store pumpkin, except it's much better. So now we're just going to blend this up to give it a smooth consistency, and then we are ready to store it. You can put it in a container and keep it in the refrigerator if you're going to use it right away to make pie, to make muffins, pumpkin bread, something like that. Or you can put it in the freezer. Pumpkin will keep very well in the freezer, and then you can take it out and use it at a later date. So I took half the contents out of the blender since it was too full to work well. I've blended it up some, and I've actually stirred it because blenders, when you put something in a blender, you need to make sure there's enough liquid to make the blender work right. Pumpkin has a lot of water content, so you definitely do not want to add any more water. But I've run it and then I've stirred it to make sure there's liquid from the pumpkin near the bottom. I'm going to run it again, probably stir it a couple more times, run it, stir it a couple more times till it's nice and smooth consistency. And you can see here that there is some of the nice more liquid part at the bottom. The top part's a little more chunky. This is what the consistency looks like when it is finished blending. You can see it's nice and smooth, and we've got some of it already poured out into a Tupperware. And this is what it looks like when we are ready to store it and then use it for pumpkin pie or pumpkin muffins or pumpkin bread, pumpkin cake, whatever you'd like to use it for.